I never imagined that watching someone balance a checkbook would change my entire perspective on talent and opportunity. My name is Marcus Wellington, and I built my fortune through real estate investments and financial consulting. By age 45, I had accumulated wealth most people only dream of, but I had also become cynical about finding genuine capability in unexpected places. The morning that changed everything started like any other Tuesday in my Manhattan penthouse. I was preparing for a crucial board meeting when I noticed something peculiar happening at my dining room table. Sarah Chen, the nanny I had recently hired to care for my 8-year-old daughter Emma, was sitting with what appeared to be her personal finances spread across the mahogany surface. What caught my attention wasn't the fact that she was handling her personal matters during work hours. Emma was at school, and Sarah had explicit permission to use downtime as needed. What fascinated me was the speed and precision with which her eyes moved across the documents. Her fingers flew across a calculator, while her other hand made notations with surgical accuracy. I found myself pausing in the doorway, coffee cup in hand, mesmerized by what I was witnessing. This wasn't casual bill paying or basic budgeting. Sarah was performing complex financial reconciliations with a level of sophistication that rivaled trained accountants in my firm. As I watched, she suddenly stopped, her brow furrowing with concentration. She picked up what appeared to be a bank statement, cross-referenced it with several receipts, and then began rapid calculations on a separate notepad. Her expression shifted from confusion to concern, then to something that looked almost like alarm. "That can't be right," I heard her mutter under her breath as she recalculated the same figures 3 times in succession. My curiosity was now fully piqued. In my years of business, I had learned to recognize when someone had stumbled upon something significant. The tension in Sarah's shoulders, the way she double and triple-checked her work, the slight shake in her hands as she reached for her phone, these were all tells I had seen countless times in boardrooms when executives discovered major discrepancies. What struck me most was that this young woman, whom I had hired primarily for her excellent references with children and her warm personality, was demonstrating financial acumen that most MBA graduates would struggle to match. The methodology she was using, the systematic approach to reconciliation, the clear understanding of compound calculations, this wasn't amateur hour. I realized I was witnessing something extraordinary, though I didn't yet understand the full magnitude of what was unfolding before me. This moment would prove to be the catalyst for discoveries that would reshape not only Sarah's life but also challenge my own preconceptions about where true talent resides and how often we overlook brilliance simply because it doesn't come packaged in the way we expect. I couldn't resist stepping closer, my business instincts overriding any sense of propriety about respecting privacy. "Sarah, is everything all right?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual despite my intense curiosity. She looked up, startled, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "Oh, Mr. Wellington. I'm so sorry. I thought I had time before Emma came home from school. I was just trying to figure out some discrepancies in my family's trust fund statements." Trust fund statements? This was the first indication that there was far more to Sarah Chen's background than her resume had revealed. She had presented herself as a recent college graduate working as a nanny to gain experience with children before pursuing elementary education. Nothing in her application had mentioned family wealth or financial sophistication. "May I ask what kind of discrepancies?" My question came out more sharply than intended, the executive in me taking over. Sarah hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the scrutiny. "It's complicated, and I don't want to bore you with my family drama. My grandmother left a trust that was supposed to be managed by a financial firm in San Francisco. I've been receiving quarterly statements, but something about the numbers has been bothering me for months." She gestured to the papers spread before her. I finally decided to do a comprehensive analysis, reconstructing the trust's performance from the original principal amount through today. That's when I discovered that approximately $1.2 million appears to be missing. The magnitude of that number hit me like a physical blow. $1.2 million wasn't a rounding error or a simple miscalculation. This was either massive incompetence or outright fraud. More importantly, this young woman had detected it through her own analysis. "Show me your work," I said, moving to sit across from her at the table. For the next hour, Sarah walked me through her methodology. She had created a detailed spreadsheet tracking every transaction, fee, and distribution from the trust's inception 5 years ago. She had calculated expected returns based on the stated investment strategy and compared them against actual performance. Most impressively, she had identified specific periods where the discrepancies were most pronounced. Her analysis was flawless. The mathematical precision, the logical flow of investigation, the attention to detail. I was looking at work that would have impressed the forensic accountants at my firm. But what truly amazed me was how she had approached the problem systematically, creating multiple verification methods to confirm her suspicions. Sarah, this is extraordinary work. Where did you learn to do financial analysis like this? I asked. She smiled sheepishly. I have a degree in mathematics with a focus on statistical analysis, but I've always been fascinated by financial markets. My parents thought it wasn't a suitable career path for someone from our family, so I've been working as a nanny while trying to figure out my next move. I felt a mixture of amazement and frustration. Here was someone with exceptional analytical skills working in a field that, while valuable and important, was utilizing perhaps 5% of her capabilities. Meanwhile, my firm was constantly searching for talented analysts who could think critically and identify patterns in complex financial data. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had been complaining just weeks earlier about the difficulty of finding qualified people, while extraordinary talent was literally living under my roof, caring for my daughter. But beyond my own business interests, I was witnessing what appeared to be a significant injustice. If Sarah's analysis was correct, and my review suggested it absolutely was, her family was being defrauded of a substantial sum by the very institution trusted to protect their wealth. The next morning, I made a decision that would prove pivotal for both Sarah and myself. Instead of heading to my usual breakfast meeting, I asked her to join me in my home office to discuss her findings in detail. Emma was at school, giving us uninterrupted time to dive deeper into what was rapidly becoming a fascinating case study in financial investigation. Before we proceed, I told her, I want you to know that I'm offering my assistance not just as your employer, but as someone who recognizes exceptional talent when I see it. What you've uncovered could have serious legal implications. Sarah's analysis had revealed a sophisticated scheme. The trust management company had been systematically skimming funds through a combination of inflated fees, unauthorized transactions, and misreported investment returns. The beauty of their approach was its subtlety. Each individual discrepancy was small enough to avoid detection, but collectively they had siphoned off a fortune. The pattern suggests this isn't limited to your family's trust, I explained after reviewing her documentation. Firms that employ these tactics typically target multiple clients simultaneously. You may have stumbled upon something much larger than personal theft. I had Sarah walk me through her discovery process step by step. Her methodology was brilliant in its simplicity. She had started with basic reconciliation, comparing stated account balances with transaction histories. When those didn't match, she had dug deeper, recreating the trust's entire financial history from scratch. The breakthrough had come when she noticed that certain months showed unusually high administrative fees that weren't adequately explained in the statements. Cross-referencing these with market performance data, she realized that the trust was being charged premium fees during months when the investments were actually underperforming. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong, she explained. Legitimate management fees don't spike when performance drops. If anything, performance-based fees should decrease during poor market periods. Her next step had been to calculate what the trust balance should be based on the original investment strategy and stated market returns. The $1.2 million discrepancy wasn't just missing money, it was money that should have been generating additional returns over time, compounding the actual loss significantly. I was increasingly impressed not just by Sarah's analytical skills, but by her ethical compass. Despite her family's apparent wealth, she could have easily ignored the discrepancies or hired expensive attorneys to investigate. Instead, she had taken personal responsibility for protecting her family's interests, demonstrating both integrity and remarkable capability. Sarah, I need to ask you something directly, I said. Are you interested in a career in financial analysis? Because what you've accomplished here in your spare time is more sophisticated than work I see from experienced professionals." Her face lit up with an expression I hadn't seen before, pure excitement mixed with possibility. "Mr. Wellington, financial analysis has always been my passion. I chose mathematics because I love solving complex problems, and I've been teaching myself about markets and investment strategies for years. But I've never had the opportunity to apply these skills professionally." I realized I was witnessing a perfect convergence of need and opportunity. My firm desperately needed talented analysts who could think creatively and identify patterns others missed. Sarah needed a chance to demonstrate her capabilities in a professional environment. And her family needed someone with both the expertise and resources to pursue justice against a potentially criminal enterprise. What if I told you that solving this case could be the beginning of an entirely new career path? I asked. The anticipation in her eyes told me everything I needed to know about her answer. Within 48 hours, Sarah Chen had transformed from my daughter's nanny into the lead analyst on one of the most intriguing financial investigations my firm had ever undertaken. The speed of this transition surprised everyone, including myself, but the urgency of the situation and Sarah's exceptional capabilities made it necessary. I had called an emergency meeting with my senior partners to present Sarah's findings. Initially, there was skepticism about taking financial advice from someone with no professional experience in the field. That skepticism evaporated within minutes of Sarah's presentation. Standing before a conference room full of seasoned financial professionals, Sarah demonstrated a level of analytical thinking and presentation skill that commanded immediate respect. She methodically walked through her investigation, fielding challenging questions with poise and providing detailed responses that revealed the depth of her understanding. The sophistication of this fraud suggests a coordinated effort involving multiple employees within the trust management company, she explained to the room. The timing of fee extractions correlates with market volatility periods when clients are less likely to scrutinize statements carefully. This isn't opportunistic theft, it's systematic wealth extraction designed to avoid detection. My partners were impressed, but I could see they remained cautious about involving someone without formal credentials in such a high-stakes investigation. That's when I made an announcement that surprised everyone, including myself. Effective immediately, I'm offering Sarah a position as a junior financial analyst with our firm. She'll continue leading this investigation while beginning formal training in our procedures and methodologies. Her compensation will reflect the value she's already demonstrated. The salary I offered was more than triple what she had been earning as a nanny, with additional performance bonuses tied to the success of the investigation. But more importantly, I was offering her the professional opportunity she had been seeking, a chance to build a career around her natural talents and genuine passions. Sarah's reaction was a mixture of gratitude, excitement, and determination that reminded me why I had started my own firm years earlier. She understood that this opportunity came with enormous responsibility, but she embraced that pressure rather than being intimidated by it. Over the following weeks, Sarah threw herself into the investigation with an intensity that amazed everyone who worked with her. She arrived early, stayed late, and approached every aspect of the case with meticulous attention to detail. Her mathematical background proved invaluable as she created increasingly sophisticated models to track the flow of misappropriated funds. The scope of the fraud expanded dramatically under her analysis. What had started as a $1.2 million discrepancy in her family's trust grew into evidence of systematic theft affecting dozens of clients and totaling over $15 million. Sarah had uncovered one of the largest trust fund fraud schemes in California's recent history. But perhaps most remarkably, Sarah never lost sight of the human impact of her work. While she was building complex spreadsheets and crafting legal documentation, she also made sure to communicate regularly with the affected families, helping them understand what had happened to their money and what steps were being taken to recover it. Her empathy, combined with her analytical prowess, made her extraordinarily effective at client relations, a skill that would prove crucial as the investigation attracted media attention and regulatory scrutiny. Watching Sarah's professional development during those intense weeks taught me valuable lessons about talent recognition and opportunity creation. Here was someone whose capabilities had been dramatically underutilized simply because circumstances hadn't aligned to reveal her potential. How many other people were out there, working in positions that barely scratched the surface of what they could achieve? The investigation was far from over, but Sarah had already proven that she belonged in the world of high-level financial analysis. The question now was how far her talents would take her, and what the final resolution of this case would mean for everyone involved. 6 months after Sarah first spread her financial documents across my dining room table, we stood together in a federal courthouse watching the sentencing of 5 individuals involved in what prosecutors called one of the most sophisticated trust fund fraud schemes ever prosecuted in the Northern District of California. The final scope of the fraud had exceeded even Sarah's initial projections. Her investigation had uncovered systematic theft totaling $23.7 million, affecting 127 families across 3 states. The trust management company had been operating what amounted to a financial crime syndicate, using client funds to support lavish lifestyles while providing fabricated statements to mask their theft. But the numbers, impressive as they were, only told part of the story. The real extraordinary outcome was watching Sarah receive recognition from federal prosecutors, state regulators, and industry organizations for her role in exposing the fraud. She had been invited to speak at conferences, consulted with regulatory agencies on improving oversight procedures, and offered positions at some of the most prestigious financial firms in the country. "None of this would have been possible without your willingness to take a chance on me," she told me as we left the courthouse that day. "You saw potential where others saw only a nanny who was good with children." The truth was more complex than that. I hadn't initially seen her potential. I had simply been curious about what she was doing at my dining room table. The potential had been there all along, waiting for the right circumstances to reveal itself. My role had been recognizing it once it became apparent and providing the platform for it to flourish. The financial recovery had been nearly complete. Through asset seizures, insurance claims, and civil settlements, affected families had recovered approximately 94% of their stolen funds, plus additional compensation for lost investment returns. Sarah's family trust, which had been the catalyst for the entire investigation, was fully restored and actually showed a net gain due to successful legal settlements. But perhaps the most gratifying outcome was watching Sarah's career trajectory. She had declined several lucrative offers from large firms to remain with my company, where she had been promoted to senior financial analyst and given her own team to lead. She had also completed her CPA certification and was pursuing additional credentials in forensic accounting. More importantly, she had found her calling. Watching her work with clients who had been victims of financial fraud, seeing her combine mathematical precision with genuine compassion for people who had been betrayed by institutions they trusted, I realized that her talents extended far beyond number crunching. She had become an advocate for financial justice, using her skills to protect people who might otherwise have no recourse against sophisticated financial crimes. The case had also changed my own perspective on talent acquisition and development. I had implemented new hiring practices focused on identifying analytical ability and problem-solving skills rather than just formal credentials and traditional experience. Some of our best recent hires had come from unexpected backgrounds: a former librarian who excelled at data analysis, a restaurant manager whose operations experience translated perfectly to project management, a retired teacher whose communication skills made her invaluable in client relations. As I watched Sarah address a conference of financial professionals about fraud detection methodologies, I reflected on the lessons learned from this extraordinary experience. Talent often exists in places we don't think to look. Opportunity and circumstance play crucial roles in revealing potential. And sometimes, the most significant discoveries come from simply paying attention to what's happening right in front of us. The nanny who had spotted a $1.2 million discrepancy in seconds had become a recognized expert in financial fraud investigation. But more than that, she had become proof that exceptional capability can emerge from the most unexpected circumstances when given the chance to flourish. That revelation, I realized, was perhaps the most valuable discovery of all.